hearing the tones. It's just a few days after the last episode in which I did a session for the Senator Rand Paul as a learning experience. And it's like the learning curve for guidance would say, does Brenda always have to come on when she hears the tones? Because she could be hearing tones all the time. She's in contact with her soul all the time. But what those visions are those higher level understandings that would be of use for all of us versus I'm working with her soul, her guides, her sound system, right? Others are going to say her sound system isn't the best, her videos aren't the best, her visions aren't the best, right? We're going to talk about what happens when people go into this vision of there's a problem on the planet, judgment. I get a lot of judgment from others, right? I'm sitting here opening my heart and soul to the nature of what it's like to do work as a soul with others and have their own visions handed to them, and they still don't want to do work with me because of the way that I come across sometimes. So let's talk about that. Okay, so how many people know they know how to give people what they want versus what's honored as needed potentially for certain souls? So for me, I often get lifted up by my soul who will say, I will produce a vision of love for you no matter what. Whether or not it's meant for the general public is a whole different ideology, right? What is or isn't appropriate for whom and why? So this could have been one of those very interesting soul sessions about senators and their reactions to what's been coming across the screen, right? Does anyone ever think about the fact that I could be sending their offices those videos for them to look at, see, and decide if they want to invest in the future? You see, I do voiceovers. That's someone else's vision. I know someone who in my world is like, I do voiceovers for other souls. This would be, it's like, that's the nature of it. Okay? I'm not here to try to change my voice for the sake of a soul. Okay? So when I say Brenda is this, it is understood that it is because she is in the nature of I am connecting to those higher levels of understanding that are not exactly within my reach as of yet. How many people know that? Do I walk along the plane of Akashic Records yet? That's what many are asking. Brenda already knows it. She just doesn't know how to reach it. She knows the visions of I have access. I just don't go in and access it for anybody. See, this is the nature of where we start to lose those vibrational shifts of I'm unaware. And we start to realize, oh, I know what's going on. How many people say they know what's going on in the world and yet they understand it? So for Brenda, she's like, I can understand just about anything on this plane. When it starts to come from other records of other souls who say they've had the whole records of their lives brought to them, it's still unfolding as of yet. Those records are only part of the puzzle of soul, by the way. So for those of you who want to enlighten themselves to the other ideas of it has not all been written down, by the way, that's when we start to get a little nitty gritty in the vision of who thinks they have it all figured out. Those who walk the halls of the Akashic Record can come through with beautiful visions that are very high and very mighty for many. They will come down, those souls, and say these are the written records of all souls that have come through in this vision of love for our souls. This is a loving, caring soul that says it is all written, right? It's the vibrational frequency in which we reside in. So those are for those souls who still reside in the vision of my life is destined, right? It's not about destiny. It's about which path we take and which vision of soul. Is my soul already determined to be of love for all souls? Or did I just come upon it on a fluke, right? Or on the fly. All souls have their visions handed to them at some point and say, this is where we create from. I could have traversed the realms of love forever. I would never look back from that vision. I don't ever want to be told you only have one destiny. It's to be loving, right? How many people would say, that sounds beautiful, Brenda. That sounds beautiful. What does that mean? And for her, she's like, at what point do we start to question the vision of what is loving for one soul versus another? So when someone says, I need the nitty-gritty details of what my life is going to be like, I would say, you're going to lose out on your soul if you keep telling them they're less than. And she fights for all of us. But then she enlightened herself to the idea of like, you know, when I was feeling kind of bad, I didn't create a lot of bad. And that's because those around me don't create a lot of bad for me. This is that nature of what can get us into trouble sometimes in our mind. Okay, so what did I hear when I heard the tone? It's like the Tonga soul wants to come through. I was a soul of the Tonga, and I know how to create beautiful visions for my tree. What I don't do is assume that the beauty of the ever after is always fulfilled. It can be fulfilled in one breath. That's the nature of what Brenda experienced as well. The divine breath. Do you want to know how many people have experienced a divine breath and never looked back? I know I'm connected. I hear his soul. I hear his volume. I hear it's like the diseases of his family tree. We created the Tonga in this vision of love, and that's where we're going. Tonga soul would say very much a different thing than the soul of Christ. So why are we assuming that it's like the zeal of life among the Tonga was destroyed by many in their zeal for their vision of Christhood? Everyone assumes that vision is of all in that form. It's like in that format. And of course it was in essence. It's one vision for one kind of soul, right? Those who are in the vision of, I have been told that this is about my own vision of love for the DNA activation, right? Now the Tonga souls are there to say Christ is part of all souls and therefore is vibrating in the beauty of who they indeed are. We do not align with all souls necessarily in this plane of understanding, but they want to be united in the vision of love for all. How many of us can go there and say, we do not imbibe upon the vision of a Christhood on all souls? They can be brought into that loop. They want to be part of the vision. Do you want to know about the Tonga souls that are crying out, please hear me? I am not a part of that vision as of yet, but I may find myself believing in the vision of Christhood if in fact I can see the proof of its vision as it's like beneficial to my tribal clansmen, or it's tribal clan. They're like, we operate in the vision of my tribe or my clan. The clan is another problem amongst those visions, right? It's not about the KKK, okay? Others will say that's the one word that brings to mind, we've got the clan online, right? It's not. Okay, these are ancient visions of royalty and of family traditions that want to come through and say, please don't ever turn back from the love of your heart. You will always vibrate in the beauty of soul. You can't even imagine how many people would align with you if they knew what you could do with your mind and your heart. And that's what we're trying to do. So when I align with the vision of a Jesus soul as love and honor it as such, I can honestly say that I could say, well, what value system was that soul operating in at that time? And everyone will say, but he was soul. He was of the highest at that moment. And then his soul guides itself to higher levels of understanding, right? You better believe our souls do not reside in just one realm. So he was of his whole soul. He was creating from his vision of what love is and his highest vision of love. What we have to understand is that in those moments, it was not able to be embodied as one soul. Therefore, that vision came back as another soul. Do you understand the nature of that idea of my soul is of three, right? The Christhood soul, right? The Trinity. That's what we call it. And in essence, people are going to start to pay attention to the nature of why other souls on this planet might be missing out on certain aspects of love for the soul of soul. That's what Brenda gets told all the time. You're the soul of soul. You're creating your own visions of love for all those souls who she created with herself and in her vibration while she became part of the clan of tribal visions, right? It's not a clan. She's not a clan in the sense that those who reach those soul level understandings do indeed understand each other on a soul level, and it can be a little tricky to bring them through. But in essence, that vision of I am of soul, I am of love, I am of Christ, that's the nature of many. She is in the vision of I get it, I'm honoring it. She calls herself the heart-centered soul, though in essence, for in her heart she honors all who say I am part of all, but I am not in the vision of a Christian mindset. It doesn't have to be just Christian, by the way, but in essence, it is out of reverence for all souls that she says, I am of source. Okay, and she aligns with the vision of I'm a heart-centered soul. I use my heart to help guide me to the place of love for all. Now, Jesus loves me was a vision that she brought through that many would say, I did not like that vision. And in her heart, she is understood but not adored by some souls in those visions of my words are my limiting beliefs. Sometimes those words that we plant in our minds can be very much of limited mindset, and that's where she often heads. I don't want to see the limitations in my mind. If I see a limitation in my mind, I know that it's going to be, spiraling me up out of it, right? Sometimes those words are meant to stick in our hearts, okay? So the nature of the Tonga would say, thank you for honoring all of our hearts. Okay, we are not all the same. We are not all here to do the same journeys. We are not all here to suit, it's like suits. The suits of the tarot call out to many as well, right? Those various soul seekers have access to wisdom beyond all wisdom in their minds. But as we keep creating more and more of the beauty of soul or of source or God, whatever people, they have star seeds now that are on the line. And these are those white light workers that many hear about. There's no such thing as white in the mindset of most. It's either light or dark. So people go to the idea of duality that often gets unwound at a certain level, but it's so high and so strong and so fabulously neutral in its application that most don't like it because we tend to like to fall in one category or another. Brenda sees beauty in all, and that's why she vibrates in it, so she can see the beauty of, I love the Tonga. And so for her, her guide is saying, Tonga needs to be honored in this moment. And there's a reason it's going to come across this way. So for those of you who know that this usually is a message about some issue or idea that's going to be playing out on a soul level in this plane, perhaps twice as many, will start to see that it is strong. So for you, I would say love yourselves gently through this process of identifying with all souls versus I'm going to pick one soul and aim high for the vision that one brings me. It's a blessing in disguise to go for the family trees and say they do honor us, they do love us. What we do is we decide that our families are just one aspect of our love as a family. If others are part of your hearts, by all means keep creating with them. Don't ever stop aligning with the vision of I love your soul system. These are more soul systems that she brings through for others, and it's beautiful. Guide yourselves to the beauty of the Tonga, and then you'll start to understand why she might be onto something that others aren't quite there yet with. So with that, we want to say thank you for your attention. Have a beautiful afternoon. Enjoy your beautiful evening under the stars, because that's where she's going. Enjoy it and love the beauty of it. Have a good day.